Hi, I'm Daniel, I'm a sleep physician, and if you have insomnia, this channel is for you. Sarah has trouble sleeping at least a couple of days per week. In this episode, we're going to explore the second arrow, the reaction to the initial insult that is often worse than the trigger. Super nice having you back here, and I missed out on this email yesterday, and then what happened was, I made a episode yesterday with replies to a bunch of people, and then I don't know what time it was, but I woke up and I was like, oh, I forgot that email. It's funny how the mind works, and which actually gave me some time to think. So, Sarah, I hope this will be a meaningful and helpful reply. So, let's actually start with reading this email from Sarah that came in 3 days ago. Hi, Daniel. I recently discovered your YouTube channel and I found it very helpful. Thank you for the encouragement, Sarah. I started having a lot of trouble sleeping last fall and developed insomnia over the winter. I did sleep restriction therapy for 12 weeks and slowly made progress with my sleep. I'm also trained in CBT. It seems, though, that I've always had a few bad nights with regard to my menstrual cycle. I'm wondering if you have any information specific to this issue for women in midlife. I have heard that sleep issues are very common for women in midlife due to hormonal changes. It is difficult for me to get back on track after a week or so of bad sleep every month. I still go to bed and get up the same time every day and use stimulus control techniques. Any information you might be able to share with me would be appreciated. Thanks for reaching out, Sarah, and good questions here. I'm sure a lot of other people have similar questions. Let's start actually with this arrow analogy. Some of you might have heard it. I know, Ellen, if you listen to this, you are familiar with it. But with insomnia, this second arrow thing is really important, because what happens usually is that something throws your sleep off at some point in your life. That's kind of the first arrow, and that could be anything. That could be that you moved, your pet died, or something stressful happened, and that affects you emotionally, and you can't sleep, right? That's the initial arrow. But then the second arrow is the reaction to that first arrow. So you can't sleep, and then you become really worried about that, and you start reacting to it. You do things, and then actually the whole thing kind of escalates. That's like just the second arrow here. So the second arrow is the reaction to the initial insult. So let's keep that in mind as we explore the following. I don't know that much about kind of the midlife hormonal changes, menstrual cycles / menopause and sleep, except that, yes, it's a very common thing I hear in clinic. A lot of women tell me that their trouble sleeping started around the time of menopause. That definitely I've heard a lot. And I randomly saw this tweet that I'm putting up here a few weeks ago. And I think this is really, really interesting. So it's a study where they looked at different ways of treating insomnia related to menopause. And the things to point out here is that medications were included as a treatment. So was CBT, or CBTI, I should say, CBT for insomnia, and hormonal replacement therapy. Now, as you may be able to glean from this figure here, what was the most effective was CBT. Education and habit change, right? And here's the thing, like if you would think that if like the real reason these women have trouble sleeping is these changes in hormonal changes, then hormonal replacement therapy would be the most effective, but it wasn't. Which then leads me to the second arrow thing again, where I think there's no question that going through menopause, it creates a lot of changes, including trouble sleeping. That's for sure a real thing, but I think the study kind of shows that it is the reaction to it that is more of the problem than the initial trouble sleeping caused by the hormonal imbalance, right? And so then that kind of segues then into Sarah's email here. It sounds like Sarah, that you've always maybe had always had some bad nights in regards to the menstrual cycle, but it may not have been too much of a trouble before what happened over the last winter, which makes me feel like maybe we have a second arrow situation here where, yes, you always slept a little worse when it was, during your period, but now you've had insomnia and now you react more to it. Now it becomes more of now every month, you're like, oh no, it's I'm going to have my period and I'm not going to sleep and that's going to make me feel tired, etc. So the reaction becomes stronger. So those were kind of the thoughts that came into my mind as I was, as I was up at night and as I was reading this the first time as well. Now I wrote a couple of things down. So the first thing I thought could be helpful for someone in your situation, Sarah, would be to maybe to explore this relationship further, meaning to ask oneself, like, is it purely related to my period, or are there other times when I can't sleep well, or the opposite of this, like, are there times where I had my period and actually slept well, and so forth. So basically, you're very familiar with this, like the CBT, like exploring evidence for, but like exploring this, is it truly always related to the period, to my period? And if it becomes like a yes, like it is, I virtually never had trouble sleeping apart from when I have my period or just after that. If it's a yes, then I won't say this, that I've never come across like hormonal replacement therapy to use that like as anything apart from menopause. So I don't think you could. What I want to say with that is that, I mean, you can't change the fact that you're going to have your cycle, and I don't think you can do anything in terms of like hormonal replacement like monthly. I don't think so. So what can you do? Well, I think you have kind of there was two things I thought about. One is just applying kind of, actually, apart from what I will talk about in a second here, like CBTI anymore, but specifically to this, what if somebody notices that, yeah, every month when I have my period, I sleep poorly? Then regarding that, you could have like an acceptance approach, meaning say, okay, I know that and I know why, and I accept that, which sounds kind of like, not very, that doesn't sound very appealing, but it can be really effective, because what happens is when you don't try to fight it, you're like, yeah, that's just what's going to happen. You stop exploring and don't think about it, and you take a step away from it. That reduces some kind of expectation and pressure and things like that, and anticipation, and then you actually may sleep better. So acceptance is often a good approach. That's number one. Number two, I read somewhere, actually, no, I remember what it was. This is a site called Insomnia Free, as one word, insomniafree.com. There's a lot of good information there. The lady that had produced that homepage, she said she used this technique whereby she almost paid a tax on good sleep. So when she slept well, she put some dollars in a jar, and when she didn't sleep well, she would spend those dollars, something like that. But the thing with that is, because it's like you turn a negative into a positive. And what I thought about was like, maybe if you can anticipate that every month I'm going to have trouble sleeping during this time where I have my period, do something that, like, spoil yourself, like, eat something you really enjoy, or do something that really like pamper yourself, so that that time becomes a positive, something you look forward to, that could kind of counteract the whole like negative anticipation with it. Just some thoughts I had. Now, if it turns out that you find that actually, you know what, it's not that correlated. I can sleep poorly when I don't have my period, and I can sleep okay sometimes, when I have my period. Then it becomes that's also very helpful, because then it becomes a matter of like, okay, that's not the thing. Let's stop thinking about that. Let's leave the whole process of thinking of hormones, and maybe there's other reasons why insomnia that are more the common ones, stress, anxiety, preoccupations, all that stuff. So that could also be helpful. Now, finally here on CBTI, I understand you did sleep restriction, which is a core technique. But I think you said here, like, I'm going to bed the same time. I still go to bed and get up at the same time every day, which, when I do bedtime restriction, I think getting up at the same time is very good, but not going to bed the same time. We should go to bed when we feel sleepy, because otherwise that may be counterproductive. If you go to bed early and then you can't sleep, etc., it's better to go kind of listen to your body's signal. So I think that could be something to think about. And then just generally, CBT, CBTI, there's a lot of overlap, but a lot of things are different too. So there may just, in general, be more you can explore in the CBTI realm. So I hope this was helpful. Sarah, thanks so much for reaching out. And anyone out there that has another question, please email me or leave a comment, and I will be back on Monday. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.